This video is sponsored by Stockies, trading livestock with all the information.
Ladies and gentlemen, coming to you from somewhere in New Zealand, it's the YouTube show with Dave Benson.
Too kind. Thank you for watching, thank you for clicking that button, thank you for being here, and welcome back to the YouTube show, where we dive into all the YouTube trends and ask the burning question, why on earth are we watching this? Man, what a crazy year it's been already, and it's just started. Firstly, I just wanted to say that our thoughts and prayers go out to all of the people in LA who've been affected by the fires. It is absolutely crazy what's going on over there at the minute, and I'm hugely inspired to watch how the communities come together, and I really hope that the worst is behind them now. All right, let's kick things off. First off, have a look at this.
Come on, buy now! Your hair's too long! Come! I'm gonna cut your hair short. I don't want short hair! Then, take a look. You're the new Dora. Like mother, like daughter.
Now that's trending at 15 million views. I don't have hair, but I have no idea what it's about. 15 million people obviously enjoyed it. Well, next up, look at this one. If anyone remembers, we kind of did this in 1980 with Police Academy. It's been done before. Very impressive, guys. Not very original, but 38 million people probably haven't seen the movie, so, you know, there's something to be said there. Wait for it. Okay, last but not least, take a look at this one.
Kissy face, sent to your phone, but I'm trying to kiss your lips for real. Red hearts, that's what I'm on, yeah. Come give me something I can feel.
112 million views. 112 million. And I've got no idea what's going on. I must have clicked it 20 times just to understand it. But it's not all bad out there. Have a look at this one. This man is so talented, and this is from the Red Bull channel.
Oh, I'm just heating up. Here it is. Bucket. I understand it now. I understand it now. Let's go!
Think you can ever shoot hoops like that, Tom? No, I don't either. But keep trying. Okay, what a show we got lined up for you today. Starting off, we've got an author of the hit saga Dissonance, and his latest book is Forecast. We've got Aaron Ryan. We also have a legendary mathematician who spends his time working to upgrade the operating methods of the global economy, Noah Healy. And bouncing our bullet with some music today, we have an all-new YouTube AI band, Sammy Strikes, and they've got their new song, Crazy Baby. Roll the titles.
Welcome to the YouTube show, madness on demand. Waves of laughter, tears, and chaos at your hand. Lost inside the streams where dreams expand. Welcome to the YouTube show, can't understand.
My next guest is the author and the best-selling novel, the sci-fi novel Dissonance. He's a voice actor, writer, and general all-round talented legend. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Aaron Ryan. Aaron, how are you?
Thank you. Elbow, wrist, wrist. Elbow, wrist, wrist. Doing well. It's not quite a Friday, but we have some big plans this weekend, so we're really excited, and we're kind of like gearing up for that. So we're gonna go see the aquarium. For a dad of an 8 and a 5-year-old boy, aquariums are still big.
Oh, I've got a 6 and a 9-year-old, so I'm fully aware. Are they ready for Christmas?
Are they ready for Christmas? So when there was nothing under the tree, no. When there are several things now under the tree, yes, they're very ready for Christmas.
Oh, wow. Where's the Christmas decorations in the office?
I know. I'm so unmerry out here. It's a Scrooge. This is a static office. This is my own personal, Shangri-La space. That's all. I am Mr. Christmas. I want to put up the Christmas stuff immediately after taking down Halloween stuff, but I don't have enough decorations to bring out here. So I'm afraid the blue lights across the interior of the studio, that'll have to do it.
Pretty cool. And do you go all out with the house? Are you one of those houses that has to light up the streets and have the sleighs and everything else going?
Not that much. I mean, that's fairly psychotic. I actually there's a reasonable extent before people need to call for a straitjacket. We have the icicle lights hanging, from the eaves, and we have, various accent lights shooting up at the bushes, red and green. We've got the colored lights on the sconces of the garage, and 3 inflatables, big Santa inflatables, and the swirling lights, but yeah, I've seen people that have just gone so overboard, and their yard has 800 things in it. I love those because we love lights, shiny things, but I think we're good with what we have.
So you're like a quarter of National Lampoon's Christmas, kind of. You're there, but you're not going crazy.
I'm not going crazy. Well, how can you go crazy when you're already crazy, right? I'm at destination. Check.
So you wrote the Dissonance saga. I have not read it. I'm going to read it. I've looked into it since we started speaking, and it's the kind of book that I would the kind of 6 books that I'd absolutely read. Where did the inspiration? So it's an alien, obviously, invasion.
Yeah. So my favorite movie of all time is Aliens, 1986. Sigourney Weaver.
Second one.
No, the second one, yes. The only one that's plural. Yes. Right. And I'm sure it is yours too, and everyone watching, it's your favorite movie. I love it.
I've seen them all, so.
Such a good movie. It has everything, and it is it's just, I love Alien, but I love aliens. So I knew that I wanted to write a book dealing with an alien invasion, a post-apocalyptic scenario on Earth here. We're scrambling from the brink and really beaten down, and we have only, up to go. But I didn't know the level of cataclysm that I really wanted to employ. However, the night before I set pen to paper for the very first strokes of Volume 1 Reality, my wife and I we'd seen it before, but we watched I Am Legend. And
Will Smith?
Yeah, such a great movie. I mean, it's so lonely, and it's so bereft of hope with the zombies and the dog. When he killed the dog, I don't want to spoil it, but when the dog dies,
it's an old movie.
It's so sad. But the weeds are growing up through the cracks, and they're 6 feet tall, and there's lions roaming the street, and there's crickets, abounding. Everything is just a ghost town.
Yes.
So in my saga, they invaded our planet in 2026, silently drifting down through the skies, holding there for 3 months. We're thinking maybe they're angelic messengers because they haven't attacked. And there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of them.
Wow.
Well, they wake up at exactly the same time, and they start killing off everybody and everything. They kill off 85% of all humanity and organic life. And that's in 2026. We call them Gorgons because, like Medusa the Gorgon, you cannot under any circumstances lock eyes with them. So if you do, they have a telepathic paralytic. They're going to freeze you where you stand. They're going to eat you at their leisure, and you're going to feel every agonizing bite. So that's what these bad boys do. But they kill off, 85% of us. So I wanted something that was like Where did everyone go? Um, how are we possibly going to fight something we can't even look at,
Yeah.
right? And the stakes are high. It turned into such a great story in 6 books.
Was it meant to be 6 books, or did it start out as one and you were like, oh, maybe two, and then just kind of evolution?
Very much so. I'm an organic writer, so I'm a pantser. There's a pantser and a planner. A planner like dots everything out with bullet points. That's not me. I do have mileposts where I know I want them to go, but I'm much more of a fly by the seat of my pants writer.
Yeah.
So I wanted to write a single novel, and as I started writing that single novel, I realized there was a greater story here. So let's do a trilogy. I thought I was done with the trilogy. And then I got called back to it like a bungee cord, and wrote a prequel. I thought I was done with it then, but I realized there's a 5-year gap from where my prequel ends and the trilogy begins. So I plugged that gap with a second prequel. And then now we're at 5. It's a pentalogy. My good friend Vance said, you're not allowed to end this yet. I love this too much. You must write a sequel. And I do what Vance says. So, and so I wrote a sequel, and then now it's a hexalogy of 6 books. It just grew, and a great story tells itself.
And is there going to be any more, or is the story told?
I don't know what else I could do that isn't recycling, in the story already. Like, how many times are there, if they keep invading our planet, pretty soon it's just bad custodial management of the earth on our part, and they should kill us all off at that point. So I think I'm done.
Did it start with drones in New Jersey? That's my question.
I just heard about that this morning and looked at the article. No, it did not. Isn't that bizarre? Like, what is that going on? It's Area 52, in New Jersey.
I don't know. I mean, these aren't orbital shaped drones. These are just drones from what I've heard. So, and they're near an Air Force base, so I can't imagine they wouldn't have been shot down by now. You're going to pull something out, aren't you?
They look like this hanging there in the sky.
That was it. There was about 90 of them to start with, and yeah.
Bad news, fellas.
So, do you have any quirky writing styles or rituals or habits or?
Gosh, rituals or habits. So I'm going to just be, it's a funny question, but I'm going to answer it sincerely. So I'm a voiceover artist. You can see the studio back there.
Yeah.
And like right now, I'm the voice of United Healthcare, which everyone, United Healthcare has been on the map on everyone's mind here lately.
Yeah.
Because of the assassination of the CEO. I love voiceovers. I'm very proud to be that voice. The industry, though, is imploding and eroding under the weight of particularly AI.
Yeah.
People would rather pay $49 for a bit of software that can, mimic a human voice than pay a hardworking human with a good voice who can bring your script to life. It's really deplorable. But as such, it's been an urgency on my part since last year to write these books, to get them as much, out there as I can and do really well with them and market them. And so I don't have any quirks other than just constantly writing and constantly working on the next project. Yeah. So I've published 8 original books in a single year.
Wow.
And some others that have kind of been repackaged from previous works, but I'm being hard pressed by AI to pivot. Jeez. So,
are you doing the reading of the books as well? So are you doing voiceover for your own books and putting that on Audible or whatever the chosen source is?
I am, and believe me, I hate audiobooks. I will not do them as a voiceover artist because they take way too long. Number one. Yeah. They pay way too little, number 2. And so they're just such you're in it for the long haul. Your voice is tired, so you can't do any other projects.
Yeah.
And you never see the end in sight. It's like the hardest thing is starting that project and going, there's 300 pages. It's just, it's a long haul. My Dissonance Volume 3 Renegade was 431 pages. It took a while. But with me, what I'm finding when I do a lot of craft fairs and vendor markets and trade shows, I sell my books directly to clients there. They love it. And the guys who are Audible say, "Did you narrate it?" And they want the author to narrate their own book because no one is going to be closer to the material. And not everyone has this setup. I feel very fortunate to be an author and a voiceover artist because I'm bawling when I kill off so-and-so. I won't say. I'm Bob, when I killed off Bob, poor Bob. He always gets, you can just expect Bob to die in every novel. He's dispensable. But I'm bawling in the writing when I kill off Bob. I'm bawling in the editing. And I'm bawling in the narration. You can hear me. I'm losing it in there because I love these characters and I love this story.
Yeah, I definitely think when you listen to someone who's written the book, put their heart and soul into it, they know exactly what to feel at exactly the moment it is in the book. So if it's an emotional moment, someone may read it wrong because I just read it a bit too flat. But if it's the author, they know that there's a lull and there's some anguish there or whatever it may be.
Right, and they're the only ones that can really bring it to life. I'm finished with Dissonance to answer that earlier question, but I just published, and I wish I could have published this on 9/11. This is my latest novel called Forecast.
Yep.
And this one is a weatherman who lives in September of 2001 in Jersey City, across the Hudson from Manhattan. He's a weatherman, so of course he gets struck by lightning. And then he's able to receive visual imagery of future atrocities that are going to be committed by those around him. He starts picking up on the wavelength of what they're about to do. So it's kind of like Dead Zone meets Unbreakable in that regard.
Yeah.
But what you'll find is the lightning never left his body. And he ends up preventing 9/11 entirely. He sees everything as we have seen it in over 20 years of documented footage.
Yeah.
But he's able to prevent it. I know that's a spoiler, but read the book. It's an absolute Inception mind job how he goes about doing that. I'm very proud of that one.
That sounds awesome, and it would also lead to say, well, what does that mean afterwards? So, you can prevent 9/11, but obviously there was a reason that the terrorists were trying to create 9/11 in the first instance. So what's their rebuttal to... I'm sure it's all explained.
And how does it affect the future? I mean, like chaos theory and butterfly effect.
Yes.
I dabble with those and I deal with them a little bit. There's a lot of that going on in the book, but I did want to keep it encapsulated and make it a single novel and not just, not everything needs to build off into a trilogy with some book-ending cliffhanger that opens the doors to more, milking of readers.
I think you've opened the door already. I think that lightning struck someone else before, and there's maybe World War II, World War I.
Yeah, maybe. Hey, I can't say it because it's gonna spoil my next novel.
So you've written, how many are you up to? You're like 21 books right now.
I'm working on my 24th book right now.
24 books, and in how many years? Because I know you started when you were 7. That was your first kind of writing, which you did for school.
Yeah, and it was just, what's so funny is this literally. I can't find the electric boy. My mom kept it. She gave it to me. I feel terrible. I can't find it. It was a construction paper and, college rule 3-hole punch paper. And she gave it to me. She kept it after all these years. She gave it to me, the author, and I lose it. And I'm just going, ugh. But what's so funny is this actually is the electric boy.
Wow.
I realized as I'm writing it, I'm going 44 years later, or 43 years later, I'm writing the electric boy. It just blew my mind. It was such an epiphany. I have written in the past year, I've written 6, 7, 8 original books. So 6 are the Dissonance Hexalogy, and then Forecast, and then a children's book for my 8-year-old. So actually that makes 9 because I wrote. Well, my 5-year-old saw the book that I had created for my 8-year-old, and he's like, "Where's mine, Dad?" So now I'm doing one for the 5-year-old. The rest of them, though, are basically like some repackaged works or encapsulated from previous works that I did as a voiceover artist. But they do number in the 23, 24 range now.
Yeah, and is sci-fi your topic? Is that your wheelhouse, or time travel, or
Yeah, well, I mean, Forecast is not time travel. He actually lives in September of 2001. Maybe I love time travel. I love something that deals with flying. I would love to fly. I don't have the weight for it. I need to lose some weight before I can actually be Ariel. I don't try launching me because I just don't. I'm not. Anyway, we'll see what happens there. But I would love to do something with time travel. But my wheelhouse definitely is sci-fi.
Right. And what's the best time travel movie? So I know your best alien movie. So what's your best time travel movie?
I am a sucker for anything that is 80s, or 90s or anything like that. I'm a sucker for nostalgia. So it's an older movie, but Frequency with Dennis Quaid and Jim Caviezel.
Yes.
That is such a good movie, and it kind of deals with time travel. I mean, it's a little bit different, but I'm also a sucker for a really, really, really good romance movie. Don't tell anybody. I'm really glad this interview is going to be completely private.
It's just me and you.
Yeah, just you and me. That's all. We're the only two people that'll ever learn this. I absolutely love the movie Somewhere in Time, which is a romance from the 80s starring Christopher Reeve, Superman,
Yes.
and Jane Seymour. He stays at a hotel. He sees an alluring picture of an actress from 1912. He finds a way. He reads a book on time travel and finds a way to go back to her. And I don't want to spoil that either, but it's amazing and it's a really beautiful, fun movie.
Wow. I've heard of it. I don't believe I mean, when you say 80s and when you say nostalgia and we're talking about time travel, come on, there's only one movie I can think of, which they did, two in the 80s and one in the 90s, which is Back to the Future trilogy. So.
Yeah. I knew you were going to say it. It was in my mind before it was on your lips. So they're great. I mean, they are fun, but like I love the ones that have, meaningful depth and weight and heft. Not that those aren't. They're lighthearted and fun.
Yeah.
But Somewhere in Time has just a lot of gravity to it, and Frequency has a lot of gravity and weight. When they're finally reunited, father and son, I didn't cry. I don't cry.
Not at movies. Jeepers.
Yeah, you're crying, not me. It's a beautiful movie. It's just that always hits me right in the feels every time I see that scene.
Wow. So, and if you weren't an author and if you weren't a voiceover star, do you think that you would be an alien investigator, conspiracy theorist? Is that where your mind would take you? Or?
Oh my goodness. Well, I can't see being either a storyteller or a storyteller because I'm a storyteller for other people as a voiceover artist, and I'm a storyteller for myself as an author. They're two parallel tracks. I seriously thought you were going to say, if you're not doing this and you're not doing this, can you see yourself being an alien invader? Because I wrote an alien, invasion series. And the answer is no to that, by the way. But yeah, I don't know. Alien investigator, that'd be pretty cool. I do like things that are mystery based and you have to find them out. So yeah.
And you haven't been tempted with horror in any way, shape, or form to delve over the press?
No, I have. Dissonance Volume 1 Reality has horrific elements to it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it is very much nod to Stephen King in a few places, and there's twists that will just grab you and like, oh my, I didn't see that coming. Not so much in the other ones, although there are parts, in pieces, but the one in Volume 1 is everyone says, I did not see that coming. And like, oh my gosh, just wow, eek. So
I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to read it. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you today, Aaron. Do you want to take us out?
I'd love to. Yeah. Like where they can find me?
Yeah.
No, that's great. That's my favorite question. So I love when people send mail, questions on the books, like hate mail, why'd you kill off so-and-so? Now I have to find where you live. I can take it. So send me that mail. But you can go to authoraaronryan.com. I want to clarify, it's not awfulaaronryan.com. It is authoraaronryan.com. And then you can go to dissonanctheseries.com as well, which is basically the website for the dissonance hexology. But people continue to think that is dissidence. And it's not dissidence, it is dissonance, which means the opposite of harmony. Yeah. That's a hard website to remember. Just simply go to getthesebooks.com. That'll take you right there.
I love it. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Aaron Ryan. We'll be back right after these messages.
Welcome, Bucket. Welcome to the Free Mind Podcast. Hey, everybody! Welcome to the Free Mind Podcast. This is Rob Lee, and we are doing acro yoga.
And welcome to Empathy and Espresso Podcast. I'm your host, Carrie.
All right, man. I got some questions for you this week.
Welcome to the first ever YouTube show.
You know my story, right? Rise to fame from the pain.
My next guest has been on heaps of podcasts and YouTube shows. He's a mathematician with expertise in computeral math and algorithms, where he spends his time working to upgrade the operating methods of the global economy. He's the founder of CoreDisk. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome and give it up for Noah Healy. Noah, welcome. How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Oh, good to hear. And are you getting ready for the holidays now, Noah? Is it getting colder over there?
It is. Yeah. It's. I'd say we had our first cold snap about 2 weeks ago, and now it's kind of settling in. We usually have what we call an Indian summer, where it warms up in late fall, but eventually things get back around to winter around here.
Let's start at the beginning. So maths has always been your passion. How did it come about? Was that from a very young age? You just naturally navigated towards math?
I'm of an age where people were actually given IQ tests in school as a matter of course to help sort us out and figure out which classes to send which people to. And the fluid reasoning section of the IQ test, I more or less aced in first grade, I guess. Reasoning has always made a lot of sense to me.
And did that? Were you always advanced with the math as you went through school? Like, did they put you years ahead, or were you just top of your class as you went through?
So we only had limited amounts of tracking, but I was exposed to a number of advanced math techniques over the years. I was actually taught set theory in second grade, which is not standard, but that was just part of the general enrichment for advanced students in my school system. But yeah, starting in seventh grade, I was part of a few different pilot programs that actually accelerated math instruction in my school system, and along with some other people in most cases. So I wound up effectively skipping several grades and finishing the math curriculum in my sophomore year of high school.
And since then, you've gone on to found a company called CoreDisk. And I'm not a math specialist, but you are doing operating methods for the global economy. What's all of that about?
Well, financial systems are actually just very specialized communications networks. You don't really care about your bank per se. You care about that the money in your bank can be communicated appropriately to other vendors and debited and credited properly. The markets are a very similar type of institution. They exist to allow effectively everybody on the planet to come together to negotiate the price of things like steel or corn or oil, and that's their function. And so it's like a Twitter, except that Twitter is, enormous mishmash of all sorts of things, whereas this is a directed mishmash of one specific, highly economically valuable outcome. And that mechanism that we use today is around 800 years old, and as it happens, it doesn't scale very well with capacity. So now that we have computers doing the shouting at each other instead of having people doing the shouting at each other, the computers are now kind of shouting at each other faster than we can follow. and it's led the markets to become very, very, very noisy. And noise being the technical term for information that's useless, and that noise basically makes it very expensive to use the marketplaces, and so that's why we see commodity production around the world being pushed to the margin so much.
Right. Now, you've just made me think. It was the other day, I watched The Big Short. I'd never seen The Big Short before. And have you seen The Big Short?
I have, yes.
Is that similar in terms of...
Big Short is talking about a kind of specific market failure. And what's getting involved there is a situation where the market is using a basic mathematical tool, that CDO concept. The idea was if we get a bunch of stuff that's all not related to itself, then they'll all behave individually, and we can treat the whole bundle of those things as something that's different. That is it.
Yeah.
That's an idea that doesn't scale, because that first step, everything that's different, if everything gets thrown into that, then it becomes everything's the same. They all correlate. So there's sort of a sort of hump shape where if you just take on one individual situation, you get a high risk situation, or more of a U shape. As you get more and more things together, you'll get lower and lower risk. But at some point, you will become the dominant system, and so your risk profile will go back up, because now you're exposing yourself to the risk of everything. You haven't actually eliminated the risk. What you've done is made the risk general, so that when things go wrong, because things eventually always go wrong, it hits everybody instead of just one or two, individual people at the fringes. So that's the real challenge. And that's a challenge that, sadly, our existing financial executives, frankly, are completely unaware of how to cope with. But that's the challenge I solved.
And it's interesting because you mentioned how computers have obviously come in. I mean, specifically AI has obviously come in now with its predictive analysis and variables as to what it's looking at. So is that helping in this space, or is that hindering in this space, or is that providing the right insights to the right? Oh, okay. How's that?
Well, for the same kind of reason, in fact. So the right answer, whatever the right answer turns out to be, is the aggregate position of human interests. So if there are, just making up some numbers off the top of my head, if there are 50,000 people that have farms that grow, kumquats, and there are 800 kumquat bakeries around the world that are bringing that in and processing it into foodstuffs that get sold, then the economic interests and positions of those 50,800 businesses determine the value of kumquats on planet Earth. And if I get a set of 200,000 robots that show up and throw their 2 cents into the mix, the markets will present the collective interest of 250,800 entities, 80% of which are robots. And
Right.
that may or may not have much to do with the actual interests of the people. And that's not slight. The actual ratio between sort of pure speculative and, for the most part, robotically inspired trades to edge trades of people that actually are attached to these so that they can have real businesses with real world consequences is more like 40 to 50 to 1. So 97 to 98% of the opinions in the system are robots.
Okay, that makes sense. I could see how that would be problematic.
Yeah, and that process, we've been effectively fully roboticized since probably the 90s at this point. And it's completely independent of the Big Short type days. What the machines let us do, and this did show up in the Big Short, the ability to manage those very complicated derivative packages and tranche systems is dependent on the ability to do enormous amounts of paperwork. Actually, more paperwork than it would be practical to do with human beings. And so robots or machines or computers actually enabled the Big Short crash to get as bad as it did, because if they were sort of all forced to use 13th century technology and have people bent over, leather-bound tomes scribbling with iron gulls and whatnot, they wouldn't have actually been able to manage the multi-trillion scale that made things get bad and then fall over. So they actually would have been forced to stay small enough that in all likelihood the system would have been kind of okay. But we don't live in that world. Everybody these days has access to enormous amounts of computational infrastructure, and that number is going up over time, not down. And so systems that break down when people are throwing that sort of resource at them will break down very rapidly compared to, historically speaking.
It's interesting because we do have access to a ridiculous amount of information that no humans ever had before, yet most people still tend to look at cat videos more than anything else. It's just insane. So all of the wealth of knowledge we're presented with. Let's talk about game theory. So what is game theory?
So I've said it before, I'll say it again. Game theory is the most flippantly named thing in human history. Game theory is the mathematics of strategy. It concerns the evolution of systems that have independent decision-making entities with agendas. So it can cover everything from games that we might ordinarily encounter from like Monopoly and poker and tic-tac-toe or NIM to political or military struggles to marketing campaigns and economics in general. There's even an entire study that unified games with numbers and created a set of numbers that's much, much bigger than the kinds of numbers that you might be familiar with called the surreal numbers. So it is a branch of mathematics that talks about situations of decision.
And do you apply game theory? Do you apply it in your everyday life? So do you go to a grocery store and then apply game theory to test which is the best line to get in or which is the fastest checkout? Does it just come to you in your natural life?
Well, there is actually a lesson from game theory that does have application in day-to-day life, which I do engage in, called tough but fair, also known as tit for tat. In an environment of uncertain collaboration where betrayal is possible and cooperation is possible, for a broad set of values in terms of betrayal, being betrayed, and cooperating, a strategy known as tough but fair has been shown to be highly dominant as an individual strategy. And that strategy essentially says that on first encounter with a new entity, so anybody you meet, you're nice. And on re-encounter of any entity, you return whatever you received last time. So if they were nasty last time, you're nasty this time. If they were nice last time, you're nice this time. So it's tough. You're willing to sort of go off, but it's fair. You're always nice openers, and that is one of the guiding principles of sort of my interpersonal behavior.
That's what you'd apply to the grocery store to work out the best line.
It doesn't really come up in the grocery store very often, but yeah, if I need help with something, I'm polite about it, and if whoever it is I'm dealing with is also polite, then the next time I'm dealing with them, I will be polite again.
I love it. I just try to be polite all the while. I fail at that game badly. So, do you have a favorite number?
I have actually a few. There are several sort of famous numbers that are kind of cool. One of the more famous, I guess, would be known as the taxi cab number. So 1729 was noticed as the smallest number that is the sum of two positive cubes in two separate ways.
You say 1729 and a cab number, and I immediately think of a classic New York yellow cab and see that number on it.
Well, this would have been a black cab in London. The story is about Ramanujan, probably pronouncing that wrong, but I believe he was ill and he was being visited by his colleagues from Oxford, and they noted that it was sort of impropitious that their taxi cab had such a boring number on it of 1729, and he pointed out that it's actually not that boring because 12 cubed is 1728 and 1 cubed is 1, which add up to 1729, and 9 cubed is 729, and 10 cubed is 1,000, and those also add up to 1729.
What's the best unsolved math question out there? What's your favorite? I'm sure there's quite a few.
Oh, there's an enormous number of unsolved math questions. Probably the Collatz conjecture. So imagine a simple game. We're going to take a number. If the number's even, we're going to divide it by 2. And if the number's odd, we're going to multiply it by 3 and then add 1. So odd numbers get bigger, even numbers get smaller. Yep. And we're going to repeat this game. We're going to do this over and over and over again. So if I've got a 1, 1's odd, multiply by 3, add 1, I get 4. 4's even, divide by 2. 2's even, divide by 1. 1, oh look, I'm back at 1 again. So 1 turns into this little 3 cycle. 3, 4, 2, 1, 3, 4, 2, 1. 1, 4, 2, right. You got it. So every number we've ever checked, and numbers have been checked up to very large numbers of digits at this point, does that. It eventually falls back down into that little 1, 4, 2, 1, 4, 2, 1, 4, 2 cycle.
Interesting.
So does every number do that? We don't know.
Interesting. Okay.
So there might be some cycle of numbers that's very, very large. It would be much, much larger than trillions. But maybe somewhere out there in the depths of, quintillion digit numbers or something, there's some sequence of numbers that cycles in the Collatz and never falls back down into that little, 142, 142 cycle. But maybe there isn't. It doesn't seem like there should be anything that's way out there that behaves like that, but that we can't prove it. It's very hard in general to talk about those sorts of properties of numbers, and that's simple enough that you can explain it to, any 6-year-old that's had their basic arithmetic instruction can do the basic process. certainly with single or double-digit numbers, uh, and we just don't know.
I shall try it on my kids this afternoon. I reckon that can keep them entertained for a while, so I'll give them some paper. I'll let you know. I'll let you know how high they go. I'm not going to bet it's going to be above 20, but we'll see. The big question I've got is, can math help us predict the fight tonight? Is it going to be Tyson who's taking home the champion?
Well, math can help you predict things, but sadly, only if you actually plug in the correct assumptions and relationships, and we're not that great at it. Boxing actually has an interesting history with that. Have you ever heard of the super fight back in the 70s?
Is that the computer analysis they did to predict, was it Muhammad Ali?
Well, actually, Muhammad Ali, he sued them, and they had a follow-up. The original prediction, Ali was one of the potential fighters. I believe there were 16 sort of nominated greatest heavyweights of all time, and they had a radio program that was presenting the fights that the computer simulation had produced as if they were real contests. And Rocky Marciano was actually the preferred winner, and Ali had gone down in like the quarterfinals or something. So Ali actually sued the promoter that sort of came up with the whole idea for defamation, essentially for saying that he wasn't the greatest of all time. And they settled, and the settlement they came up with was they talked Marciano and Ali into getting together for sparring session. They did like 100 1-minute sparring sessions on video in a private gym, and then they had their computer simulation run a Marciano Ali fight, and they used the footage that they'd gotten to assemble a video approximation of what the computer said, and then made a film out of that they presented, and it was apparently a bit of a mess, but I believe Marciano won the second fight as well. The Ali Marciano fight, according to the computer, came out in favor of Marciano. My dad actually, I know about this because my dad actually got me a DVD collection of this thing, and from what I can tell, the computer simulation, I'd assume, to deal with the limitations of the day, actually used a very, very small ring to place the fighters in, which would have greatly limited the mobility value that Ali brought to the field. So I guess I've heard a little. So is Tyson fighting Jake Paul? Is that the fight to which you're referring?
He is, yeah. That's it's in a few hours, I think. So
okay, so yeah, I would assume that Paul, being quite a bit younger, probably is more mobile than Tyson is, but I don't know. I don't know what the parameters of that fight are.
I don't know, but all I do know is if you take a hit off Mike Tyson, you tend to not get back up too quick.
There's something called London Prize Rules, which the very earliest boxers were actually contesting under the London Prize Rules, and that actually doesn't involve movement. Each man had to stand at a mark, and they would hit each other, and a round was until somebody went down to their knee. So some of those old-timey boxing stories about 50 or 100 round contests, that's why it was like that. They would have been knocked down 50 or 100 times, back and forth in the course of just standing up and punching somebody else. And I can imagine I can imagine no more terrifying sporting event than contesting with Mike Tyson in a London prize rule setting.
Well, that's all we've got time for. It's been an absolute pleasure to catch up with you, Noah. I wish you and Cordis the best of luck in the future. We're going to be back right after these messages.
Welcome to the YouTube show, Madness on Demand. Waves of laughter, tears, and chaos at your hand. Lost inside the streams where dreams expand. Welcome to the YouTube show. Wow! Understand. Lightning strike in the dead of night, heart pounding hard like a dynamite. Open roads and no one inside. We're chasing shadows, running from the light. Oh, the light. Echoes scream through the neon haze, lost and wild in this twisted maze. No direction, spinning in a daze, breaking chains in a frantic craze. Crazy baby, wild and free, living fast on the edge of sanity. Fire burning bright, can't you see? Forever dancing in this revelry. Crazy baby, wild and free, living fast on the edge of sanity. Fire burning bright, can't you see? Forever dancing in this revelry. Ripping through the streets loud and clear, silent whispers turn to screams of fear. Chaos reigns, driving hard we steer. Crazy baby, nothing left to hear.